Welcome back, Soundbug survivors. Today we're diving into one of the more underestimated killers in Escape from Tarkov, audio loss. There are a lot of helmets in Escape from Tarkov that hinder your ability to process audio, and most people know this, but they don't generally understand just how bad some of them are in terms of dampening sounds around you. A prime example is the sudden spike in players rocking the tank helmet just to snag that early wipe NVG barter, but honestly, it's way better at getting you killed than it is at keeping you alive. Early wipe, these NVGs feel like a huge power play. Scavs can't see you as well at night, other PMCs are fumbling around in the dark trying to figure out what Pestily's black and white post effects is, or they're cranking their gamma with chill wave on and making their screen look like that bad acid trip you had on that one camping trip out in Sholo when you woke up with no pants on, one shoe covered in acorns and pine sap. On top of it, you get that sweet concealment from the darkness, shadows, and foliage. And tank helmet seems like the perfect budget option. It's cheap, it accepts night vision, and hey, free protection on top, right? It turns out, not so much. This thing blocks out headsets completely, and that means no boosted footsteps, no compressed gunshots, no positional audio advantage. You might as well be walking around with cotton stuffed in your ears, and to show you just how bad this thing is, we've done some testing with some actual numbers in terms of your detection distance reduction, and some real raid applications as well. In the interest of being thorough, we've also tested some other popular helmets to give you an idea of how much they impact your hearing comparatively speaking, or if they do at all. In this test, we'll give you some amplified and compressed audio so you can hear what I'm hearing a little more clearly. It might sound kind of annoying, but this is the best way to boost the audio so that you can hear it. By the way, if you want to boost your footstep audio or just keep your ears from bleeding while playing Escape from Tarkov, I have a two-part series on the do's and don'ts in Tarkov audio with links in the description below. For this test, we're going to run a 2.5:1 compression ratio on this audio so that we know for sure we're going to hear the steps as soon as possible. Two disclaimers. First, this is not a functional amount of compression to run while playing the game. It will make you want to rip your ears off your head. 2. The move speed of the PMCs while sprinting is so ridiculously fast, this data probably has a margin of error of around 5%, maybe more. Sometimes we miss that first impact of his foot if it's just barely outside of the range on his previous step. So doing this test with walking was something I considered, but this got us close enough and the running is easier to hear. We did test across multiple compression levels as well, and there's some important information we got from that specifically, but since it's not really related to our initial topic, I'll put it in at the end. First, we're starting with the Contact 6. After this bird tried to ruin our test, we got audio from around 87 meters while the PMC was running in, and about 90 meters while he was running away from us. I f***ing hate that bird. When we switch over to the 6B47, we only really see a slight drop to approximately 86 in and 87 out. And honestly, that's a lot better than I expected it was going to be. That difference also held across multiple helmet types with a low hearing impedance stat in the wiki, such as the ULOCH, the UNTAR, the other varieties of the 6B47, etc, etc. Then, when we switch over to the tank helmet, we're really only able to hear at about 57 meters both in and out. This number, however, drops further without compression or at reduced compressions, which I'll discuss at the end as well. Just to kind of give you a real raid idea of how bad that is, when we take a look at the Tarkov PMC movement speeds, we can see that they move about 2.8 meters per second while walking. Basically, that translates to your opponent having potentially a full 8 seconds longer than you to detect you and react to your audio before you even know he's there. 8 seconds is a literal fucking eternity in a Tarkov engagement, as we all know, and that might explain why we've just mowed so many of these tank helmet enjoyers down. Most of the time, they've just got no idea we're in proximity, despite the distance between us being relatively short most of the time. Don't get me wrong, I know no one's wearing this thinking that they'll hear as well as they would with a headset on, but the difference is pretty staggering, and I don't think most people wearing this realize just how big it is. It could be situationally useful in extremely short range situations like maybe factory, or maybe if you're staying stationary most of your raid because you're sniping or camping, but in most situations this is just not the gear you want to field. One surprising thing about this testing was that it showed some pretty stark differences between detection ranges using compressed audio and uncompressed, as well as some interesting findings relating to the helmets with any level of hearing impedance. When we ran the testing without the compression, the helmets that block hearing actually performed objectively worse. Not like earth-shattering differences by any means, but the tank helmet was only good between 49 to 52 meters rather than 57 on both directions. So in a realistic sound environment, running normal compression, normal hardware, this helmet performed even worse than it did in our ideal test. The same held true to a lesser degree with the low hearance impedance helmets like the 6B47, Untar, Ulach, etc. They only lost about 2 to 3 meters in their detection distance when removing the compression, but it's something to consider. It is a small difference. This likely means that the low hearing impedance essentially means that it's simply applying like a specific percentage of volume decrease while wearing that helmet, but the sound still registers at the same distances. It's just quieter, and we're actually picking it up with the compression rather than not picking it up when the compression isn't there. Another interesting note was just how different our detection radius was in general compared to both other content creators and our own testing at lower levels or no compression. Most of the headset comparisons I could find from other channels were between 70 to 76 meters max range on the Comtac 6, whereas we're at nearly 90 on the outbound audio using compression. There are, of course, hardware differences to consider as well, but that's still pretty significant and probably deserves looking into. When we tested with no compression, we're around 81 meters on our normal audio settings that we actually play at, and about 84 with just kind of an uncomfortable volume boost at our normal settings. All this really means is that compression does in fact do something, but whether or not it's worth an extra 5 to 10 meters on your detection radius is a whole different question. We might do a video later on the differences between the two, having the compression, not having the compression, but my release schedule is chaotic as hell. If you guys want to see it, throw it in the comments. If we get enough comments, I might make a video on it. So anyway, back to the topic. Yeah, the takeaway is simple. The tank helmet is basically a death wish with night vision attached. Unless your goal is like LARPing as a deaf T-34 tankist wandering around interchange, you're probably better off skipping it. Run a headset, keep your ears sharp, you'll live a lot longer. That's all I've got for you guys. If this video helped you at all, don't forget to like, subscribe, drop a comment, and of course, share it to help proliferate the content. Thanks again. Peace out.